Hello, my name is Mike Pfaff, and this is my YouTube channel, Living in the Illusion. Now, last time we got together, we talked about this subject, which we will change shortly. So as a little review, and I'm going to reference this because it was involved, and the title was, You Create Your Universe as a Simulation. And we used the my video monitoring editing program to explain how we set up tracks on our timeline, on our daily timeline, and have different tracks for different inputs. And what our inputs are our senses. So we have visual, auditory, kinesthetic, which is touch, olfactory, which is smelling, and gustatory, which is tasting. And each one of those inputs are like on a track, and you create the track based upon your experience with different fragrances, different ways that the world comes to you in your olfactory processing. And the same thing with all of your memories. You make tracks. And so you don't have one experience. You have, because of our senses, we have 5 inputs, tracks. And then the mind, the subconscious mind, where all our information is stored, creates one rendering or one experience from all of this different input. So it is like a supercomputer that gives us a simulation unique to us of the world that we create. And the rendering then is projected onto the outside infinite energy system. So that's what that was about. And also important was an insight from a course in miracles. What you project, after we make the rendering, we project it onto the outside energy system, and we disown it. We disown it. So we believe, oh no, that out there that you just projected, that's not me, that's not mine, that comes from the objective world that's outside. Now, there's no subjective world. There's only your creation as a simulation. So that's what we talked about last time. And if you look at that video, you'll get better insight than this real short process. Now, in a moment, we'll talk about today's subject. And this is our subject for today. Now, there's a couple things on here that we're going to talk about in a second, but the subject is the scientific method scientific? One of 5. So this is going to be a series. So, well, let's see what we can glean from our subject. Is the scientific method scientific? Now, in the scientific method, there are 5 steps. Interesting, because we have 5 senses. I don't think there's a correlation, but maybe there is. First step, observation. You gotta make an observation. You have to look at the phenomena that you are going to investigate. 2, out of that comes questions. And so you develop questions. And then from those questions, develop an hypothesis of what they might mean. And then when you have a hypothesis, you experiment to check out the hypothesis and then draw conclusions. The 5th step, conclusions. But today, in this video, part 1, we're going to talk about observations. Now, when we observe with all our senses. We use all of our senses. It's not just a visual thing. A lot of times we think of observation as related only to the eyes. And it's not. It's all of our sensory input is used in observing the phenomena that we are studying. Now, observations are always made in first person. First person. I observe whatever I observe. The pie, I observe, let's pick a pie as an example. I observe the pie, and I see that it is has a crust on top and a pan underneath, and I can describe the physical things. Okay? Now, using our other senses, I can describe, putting my hand on it, is it warm or cold? I can describe, does it have a sound? If I push on it, if it's just sitting there, does it have a sound? Smell, olfactory. Is it apple? Is it cherry? Is it apricot? I don't know. I'm making half this stuff up on the fly. So we're making observations. I observe. First person. That's important. Why? You can't make an objective observation. Now I'll say that again, because we're looking at the objective world. You cannot make an objective observation. All observations are subjective. Now, why is that important? Because observations are then related to your belief system. The belief system of the investigator has to do with the object being investigated. He can only observe within the framework of his belief system. I can't think thoughts outside of his belief system. So depending on the belief system of the observer will determine what you observe. not the objective part, because there is no objective. And we have also, in past videos, and I'll reference it up there, there is no objective world. So now we're making observations with our sensory input from the outside of something that is not there, because there's no objective world. What is there? A projection of what we created inside. So we're investigating with observation, which is a projection onto the infinite outside anything, everything, of a pie. The pie is an inside creation. But we think, oh no, it's scientific. It's a scientific observation. It's an objective observation. No, I'll state it again. No observation is objective. Objective. All observations are first person and subjective. Now, how scientific is that? But we will rationalize that the observer is observing in a very rational and objective way. Can't be. You can't do that. Not in the illusion. Oh, by the way, I have to state that almost every time. We are looking through the eyes of the egoic belief system. And we believe there's an objective world. So part of this, now I went into great detail, some great detail in the description. And I spell this out a little more clearer in the description, because now I'm just trying to remember what I wrote. Your observations must be, all observations must be within your belief system. So no matter how uneducated the observer is, or how magnificently educated they are and know a lot of things and have a big belief system, they can't think outside of the belief system. So what am I trying to convey when we talk about observations and seeing them? We're talking about a subjective, based upon the belief system of the observer. And it goes so far that if they observe, and you can look at the standard model for the illusion, they observe stuff that comes to them for which they have no reference material, they delete them. The conscious mind won't know it, but they delete them. Now, the funny thing is, we even, to prove our point, and when we get to hypothesis, you'll maybe have a better insight. To prove our point, we use mathematics. Would we use mathematics to prove our observation and our hypothesis? So we're creating a mathematics that matches what we want to show or what we want to believe. And it's not on a conscious level. It's subconscious. And then the conscious mind says, oh, we have mathematics that proves this and this and this. Oh, we got to have mathematics. But we create the mathematics in such a way that it formulates into what we want to believe. We've always done that. And yet we fall back on mathematics and say, well, that's how we know. Everything must be mathematically correct. So let us look again at what we are talking about. We are looking at the scientific method. We're looking at the first step, which is observation. We are observing with all of our senses, but this is an egoic world. It means it's ego-driven. With all of our senses, within our belief system, we cannot observe the phenomena objectively. It is always a subjective observation, which means our belief system is involved in the observation. Now, since quantum physics, we know there is an observer effect. The observer affects the observed. And deeper into that is that the observer and the observed interact into one system. They entangle. Like the phenomena of Schrodinger's cat. And when you open the box, the observation and the observer become one system. Oh, there's a lot to think about here. And what I'm doing is questioning why we put so much faith in the scientific method. At least as far as observation is concerned. All observation is first person. I observe. I touch. I smell. I hear. I see. I taste. All first person. If you go back to the last video, you'll see each one of those are tracks. And each one of these, observing, questioning, hypothesis, experiment, and the conclusion. These are all separate tracks. It's not one thing. It's not one thing. It's separate tracks that we render as one experience. So I am questioning. And maybe you will have some questions. Maybe you'll say, well, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Or maybe you say, that sounds very interesting. I would like to know something else. What do you think about this aspect? It's very helpful in developing these videos. So give that some thought. You're the creator. You're the creator of your world. You are programmed in the egoic world to see the scientific method, as very important. We have to have a scientific method to define anything. I'm questioning that. I'm questioning how we do it. And the first thing I'm questioning is the observation, because everything is based on this, and I'm suggesting that it's flawed. and has feet of clay. And if observation is flawed, you can't have a good conclusion. Oh, by the way, scientific method, very successful. But there's a lot of successful things that aren't that good for you. There's a lot of successful things. And the scientific method, why it's successful, doesn't make it scientific. Useful, important, but not scientific. So, give that some thought. And until we meet again, be good to yourself. And we look forward, first of all, to your questions, maybe to your like and subscribe. You can hit both of those buttons. And we look forward to seeing you next time here, the only place you can be, in the illusion. Bye now.
Tell me what you find when you find it. Will it be worth the wait? Look in the corners of your mind and unwind it. Leave all the rest to fate. 'Cause you threw out the map long ago now, didn't you? It's uncharted land from here. And you always liked it like that now, didn't you? It's better when things are unclear. 'Cause now it's your discovery.